You are listening to Sean Harrison on Amp Life Talk Radio, a place for amputees and those dealing with limb loss. The views expressed on the show by the host, co-hosts, and guests are their own. Always seek medical advice from a licensed medical professional.
And hello, everyone out there in Facebook land. You were probably wondering, where the heck is Sean at? What's this guy doing? Is he going to be doing a show tonight, or is he not going to be doing a show tonight? Well, I'm here. I was setting some things up for you guys, making sure everything was going to be just perfect for my crowd out there. Hopefully, everything is sounding good on your end. I know I was getting a little echo. That's why I was playing with some stuff. So that's why I'm a little bit late. So just wanted to let you guys know. I'm pushing buttons over here. So if you see me push a button and then you don't hear me, you'll wonder why I'm kind of freaking out, is because when I push buttons and things don't work, it scares me. So I like seeing me pushing buttons, and I like to see that you're hearing me, because when I can't hear myself in my headphones, it freaks me out a little bit. And I'm thinking, oh my God, does anybody hear me? So if you hear me out there on Facebook, just give me a thumbs up. Let me know everything's coming through. Then that way I know that I'm all good, because I have so many buttons over here on this little push board to push that sometimes I push the wrong button. I'm not gonna lie, man. Hey, this is live, and sometimes I make mistakes, but I want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody back to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. Now, tonight we have a really interesting show, and it's going to be something that is going to probably throw you off and take you back. Please do sit down in your seats. Buckle up and enjoy this experience from Amp Life Talk Radio. I want to get this out of the way and say this before we get further into the show. Welcome, everybody. If you want to ask me questions, if you are looking at me on Facebook Live, you can chat with me and shoot me some questions. I will try to respond to those. It's kind of hard when I'm doing a show like this where I'm not actually interacting with you, but I will do my best. After the show, I always typically go back through and I try to read everyone's comments to make sure I am addressing everyone. I'm so thankful. Hey, also, I want to give a shout out to some of the new support groups that I signed up for on Facebook. I hope all of you are listening, and I'm very appreciative of those of you that accept me into your groups and let me post the things that I post. Unfortunately, there are those that want to consider me spam and tell me I'm spam. So I pull myself away from those groups because I don't want to offend anyone or get on someone's nerves. But I do post a lot of stuff, and I am glad that so many of you respond to some of the posts that I do, because you give me some good ideas for shows that I know that you're going to be interested in. So that's why I use that information. Hi, Susan. So tonight, with no further ado, let's kind of get into the show here, okay? First, I want to welcome everyone back, like I said, to another show of Amp Life Talk Radio, a show that empowers amputees with knowledge and support to make a real difference. I just want you to know, if you're dealing with limb loss, you're not alone. Even if you're a family member or a caregiver that's helping someone, you're not alone. This show is here as a testament to let all of you know that you have a place here on Amp Life Talk Radio to where you can come and sit back and listen to the topics that we talk about, and also be involved with the show and ask me questions, and hopefully be able to communicate with our guests when we have people on. Tonight is a very serious subject. You saw from the title of the show, this is season 2, episode 31, and we're dealing with the biggest epidemic in human history. How many of you remember the movie The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, or more recent, World War Z. They both had some pretty scary themes. One was aliens taking over your body, and the other involved a disease that basically took over your body. Now, what if I told you we had a real life World War Z happening right now in this country, worldwide? People's bodies are being taken over by this disease as I speak to you right now. Some people don't even know they have this inside of them. Others have seen the signs but ignore them. It has been around for years, but now it's growing at a very scary rate. In fact, there are 1.5 million new cases diagnosed every year. And it doesn't care about your age, your sex. About 193,000 people under the age of 20 will be diagnosed with this. It remains the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. 79,535 death certificates listed it as the underlying cause of death, with a total of 252,806 death certificates listing it as an underlying or contributing cause of death. This silent, insidious threat, without proper care, can consume your body from the inside, working its way up your nerve endings, ravaging your limbs, and leading to amputation. If you're already diagnosed with this disease and you don't take action to control it, it will infiltrate your organs and take control of your life or end your life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about diabetes. Yes, we're talking about a very serious disease that is running rampant throughout the country. Risk factors that contribute to this disease, type 2 diabetes, include a sedentary lifestyle, poor eating habits, high blood pressure, and cholesterol. Your family history, genetics, and age make diabetes a silent, insidious threat. In order to better understand this invasion of the body, we must first know the facts to clear up some of the myths in order to protect ourselves. I think that is one of the biggest things with diabetes, is that most people don't understand diabetes. Most people don't get how dangerous diabetes can be, what it can do to you if it's left unchecked, if it's left to just run its course through your life. Diabetes can end your life as you know it. Let's talk about some of these myths. Myth 1: if you're overweight or obese, you will eventually develop type 2 diabetes. Is that true or false? Well, the fact is, being overweight is a risk factor for developing this disease. But other factors such as your family's history, ethnicity, your age, all these things play a role in diabetes. Unfortunately, too many people disregard the other risk factors for diabetes and think that weight is the only risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Most overweight people never develop type 2 diabetes. And many of those same people with type 2 diabetes are at normal weights or moderately overweight. Weight is not necessarily a precursor to diabetes. Myth 2: eating too much sugar causes diabetes. The fact of the matter is, the answer is not so simple. Type 1 diabetes is caused by genetics and unknown factors that trigger the onset of diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is caused by genetics and lifestyle factors. Being overweight does increase your risk of developing type 2 diabetes, and a diet high in calories from any source that contributes to weight gain. Research has shown that drinking sugary drinks is linked to type 2 diabetes. Now, the American Diabetes Association recommends that people should avoid intake of sugar sweetening beverages to help prevent diabetes. Sugar sweetening beverages or beverages that are filled with sugar include beverages such as your regular sodas, fruit punch, fruit drinks, energy drinks, sports drinks, and sweet tea. All of these can put you at risk. How many of these have you found yourself drinking on a daily basis when we are looking at more than one or two or three or four in a day? And when you start adding those days up, how many days in a row are you consuming these types of beverages or foods? This will raise your blood glucose, and it can provide several hundred calories in just one serving. That's another problem with our society is serving sizes in restaurants and the different food packaging that we find ourselves having. We're basically being fed way too much. See for yourself, just one 12-ounce can of regular soda has about 150 calories and 40 grams of carbohydrates. This is the same amount of carbohydrates in 10 teaspoons of sugar. 1 cup of fruit punch or other sugary fruit drinks have about 100 calories or more and 30 grams of carbohydrates. Another myth: diabetes is not that serious of a disease. I hear it a lot in everything that I do. The fact is, diabetes causes more deaths in a year than breast cancer and AIDS combined. Having diabetes nearly doubles your chance of having a heart attack. The good news is that diabetes can be controlled. And if you control it, you can reduce your risk for diabetes complications. Myth: people with diabetes should eat special diabetic foods. The fact is, a healthy meal plan for people with diabetes is generally the same as healthy eating for anyone else. Low in saturated and trans fats, moderate in salt and sugar, with meals based on lean protein, non-starchy vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, and fruit. Diabetic foods generally offer no special benefit. Most of them still will raise your blood glucose level. and are usually more expensive. You're going to pay more out of pocket, and can also have a laxative effect if they are combined with sugar or alcohol. And that's a bad situation right there. Another myth: if you have diabetes, you should only eat small amounts of starchy food, such as bread and potatoes and pasta. Starchy foods can be part of a healthy meal plan, but portion size is the key. That's the fact of the matter. Whole grain bread, cereals, pasta, rice, and starchy vegetables like potatoes, yams, peas, and corn can be included into your meals and your snacks. In addition to these starchy foods, fruits, beans, milk, yogurt, and sweets are also sources of carbohydrates that can count in your meal planning. Wondering how many carbohydrates you have or you can have, the amount of carbohydrates you need will vary based on many factors, you and your health. Your care team can most people have this, your doctors or your medical group or your medical plan, they'll have someone that can help you figure this out and help you get the right amount so that you're not going over. And once you know this, how much carbs and how many carbs to eat at a meal, choose your food and the protein size, you're going to be doing pretty good with taking care of yourself. Myth: people with diabetes can't eat sweets or chocolates. Well, in all actuality, the real fact is, if eaten as part of a healthy meal plan or combined with exercise, sweets and desserts can be eaten by people with diabetes. They are no more off limits to people with diabetes than they are to people without diabetes. I'm not a big sweet eater, so the key to sweets is to have a very small portion. Did you hear that? The key to having sweets is having a very small portion. That puts a lot of us in jeopardy and in harm's way when we go to places and they bring out a slice of chocolate cake that looks like a mountain. We find ourselves getting in trouble with that. So portions, you can have stuff, but portion it. That's going to be the key to doing the things that you want to do. Myth: you can catch diabetes from someone else. Well, the true fact is that's not true. We all should know that. And hopefully, if you didn't know that, now you do know. Although we don't know exactly why some people develop diabetes, we do know diabetes is not contagious. It is not something that you catch like the flu or cold. There seems to be some genetic link in diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes. Lifestyle factors also play a big role. We're going to take a little break and we're going to come back and finish up on these myths so that you have a better idea of how to deal with this disease that is overtaking society and the world at a rapid pace. So stay right there. We're going to be right back. to welcome all of you back to the show. For those of you that have tuned in at this current time, know that we are talking about a very, very important topic tonight. And I want to make sure that we get this information out there. We're clearing up some myths and facts on diabetes. And I would like to make sure everyone um, gets this information. So as we continue with clearing up some of the myths with diabetes, um, I want to get into this and let people know our next myth. This is a really good one. People with diabetes are more likely to get colds and other illnesses. True or false? I wonder what you guys think about that. Are people with diabetes more susceptible to getting a cold or the flu or something like that? What do you think? Well, I'm going to help you with that. The fact of the matter is, you are no more likely to get a cold or any other illness if you have diabetes. However, people with diabetes are advised to get flu shots. This is mainly because any illness can make diabetes more difficult to control. And people with diabetes who do get flu shots are more likely than others to uh, go on to develop serious complications. So get those flu shots, especially if you have diabetes. Uh, Myth: if you have type 2 diabetes and your doctor says you need to start using insulin, it means you're failing to take care of your diabetes properly. How many of you have gotten that? Well, the fact of the matter, for most people, type 2 diabetes is a progressive disease. When first diagnosed, many people will, or with type 2 diabetes, can keep their blood sugar glucose at a healthy level with an oral medication. But over time, the body gradually produces less and less of its own insulin. And eventually, oral medications may not be enough to keep blood sugar glucose levels at a normal rate. Using insulin to get your blood glucose level to a healthy level is a good thing and not a bad one. So don't necessarily think that when your doctor says that to you, it's a bad thing. Glenda, it's okay that you're late. Our next myth, our last one for the show, and then we're going to start into segment 3. Fruit is healthy food. Therefore, it is okay to eat as much of it as you wish. You should know the answer to that from some of the other myths that we just cleared up. The fact of that, fruit is healthy. It contains fiber and lots of vitamins and minerals, which your body definitely likes and could do with plenty of. But because fruit contains carbohydrates, they do raise your blood glucose. And also, that's called what? Blood sugar. And need to be included in your meal plan. So, yes, we need these, but we need to be careful with them because they can do things to make things go up that we don't want to go up. Talk to your dietitian. That's probably the best advice I can give you on the amount of fruit you should be including into your diet and what you should be eating. Before we get into segment 3, I want to make sure I give some thanks to some of our sponsors who help us with the show. One is my good friend Rich at Soul Effective Productions, who helps me with a lot of my sound bites here that I love that he has helped create for me. And he has just done such an awesome job with helping me get this podcast up and off the ground. So to my good friend Rich at Soul Effective Productions, my man, I want to let you know you're a rock star. So we also want to thank OrthoMed Center here in Modesto. I work with them closely with all of their patients who are going through amputations. And I've met many of you that are here on Facebook through them. And hopefully you all are happy with me. So that's something I want to make sure we get out there every show. We have sponsors who help me in one way or another with this show and help me bring it to you. So if you are interested in being a sponsor for the show, contact me and we can talk about you being a sponsor of the show. Segment 3, we're going to get into more about this virus. And I would like, or we'll say, and like this virus that I just talked about in the movie World War Z, it can be controlled. Diabetes can be controlled. We must pay attention, and we've got to pay attention to those risk factors for diabetes, as they can be detected and combated. Eating sensibly, exercising, and avoiding smoking are reliable defenses against diabetes. If you're at risk for this disease, you can minimize the effects by staying alert for warning signs. Yes, that's right. Diabetes is going to give you a lot of warning signs. And if you pay attention to these, you're going to be able to avoid going down this road and this path to where things are going to get very bad for you. What are some of those warning signs? Well, fatigue, sudden weight loss, frequent urination, wounds that won't heal, hunger and extreme thirst, blurry vision, tingling or numbness in the feet, and sexual dysfunction. If you find that you were experiencing any of these when you were not before, I would highly recommend to you, if you exhibit any of these symptoms, you need to consult your healthcare provider immediately to get some help and be tested to see if you are going down this road with diabetes, because it is something that we can prevent and it is something that we can beat. If diabetes has already infiltrated your body and you believe you're in danger of being affected, you must keep it from taking control and putting you at risk for an amputation and many other devastating health problems that diabetes causes. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, estimates that 7.8% of the United States population, or 23.6 million Americans, currently have diabetes, including 5.7 million with undiagnosed diabetes. This is up from 18.2 million in 2003. As this number rises, diabetes continues to be the leading cause of non-traumatic lower limb amputations in the US. It's important to catch this early. It's important to deal with this early. The sooner you do this, the better things will be. If you wait and prolong and ignore the signs, you will be in this number of people. In 2008, more than 50,000 Americans lost a limb due to diabetes-related complications, representing nearly half of all the lower limb amputations performed in the United States. Members of minority groups, including Hispanic and Latino Americans, African Americans, American Indians, Alaskan natives, and older Americans, are especially high risk. About half of all diabetic or diabetes-related lower limb amputations occur among people aged 65 or older. For people with diabetes who have undergone an amputation, current data is not encouraging. The studies show that people with diabetes who have undergone an amputation are at a significant risk of additional amputations within 5 years. And as many as 1 in 3 may be dead after 10 years. The Amputee Coalition of America is fighting amputations from diabetes complications with the most effective tool available. My friends, that is knowledge. That is why I'm here tonight. That is why I'm here talking to you about such an important topic tonight, because I see so many of you dealing with this. So many of you come to me after this has taken a limb. Experts contend that anywhere from 1/2 to 4/5 of all diabetes related amputations could have been prevented by people being aware of diabetes and the effects and taking measures, steps, preventative measures and steps to prevent it. Things such as just getting your feet examined regularly, going to the proper place to get your toenails trimmed, checking your shoes for objects inside of them to prevent them from losing a limb. All people with diabetes, whether they have undergone an amputation or not, should develop a daily self-management practice. Early detection and treatment are the keys to preventing amputation. It is so important. I cannot express this enough. I cannot talk to you enough about this. Tonight's show is one that everyone needs to listen to, and I want you all to share it. Yes, it had some very devastating news and facts in it. But if you take this information and use it, you can find yourself being one of those people who lives with diabetes and survives. Diabetic neuropathy, the loss of the sensation in the feet and legs, and poor circulation in the lower limbs are two of the main complications from diabetes that lead to amputation. Poor circulation causes the skin and tissue to be easily damaged and interferes with healing, while loss of feeling allows damage to go unnoticed until wounds have become infected, ulcerated, and unfortunately, most ulcers that lead to amputation can be prevented. You can prevent these. You can prevent these from happening. They don't have to happen to you. So taking precaution to protect yourself from these things is so important. Daily inspections of your feet and foot care, foot education, wearing proper shoes, early recognition, and treatment of any suspected troubles. All people with diabetes should undergo annual foot exams to identify any high risk factors that or conditions dealing with your feet. Healthcare providers, people with diabetes should be able to contact and make simple screening exams for you. Neurological, vascular, dermatology, dermatology. All these things are so important. If no action is taken and you neglect this, no action taken to stem this disease and its looming effects and threat, the CDC has forecasted that up to 33% of all Americans will have diabetes by 2050, an epidemic that could overwhelm the United States healthcare system. If you're not currently at risk for diabetes, you can curtail its invasion by not smoking and following a healthy diet and exercise program. If you are at risk, contribute to the fight by stopping or not starting smoking. I have stressed this with so many patients. Smoking is the worst thing you can do to yourself if you've already gotten an amputation. Losing weight, if you're overweight, eating right, exercising, taking care of yourself, checking with your health providers, finding out what advice can they give you, what services do they have for free. Most of these services are for free and are part of your health plan. If you already have diabetes, make sure that you apply your daily self-management practice, these practices, and visit appropriate healthcare providers regularly and follow their advice can help you prevent so much trouble down the road. Taking these steps will help prevent the invasion of this disease from devastating your life. And as we move into segment 4 of the show, I hope that you all are taking to heart the information that I'm trying to give you, the information, the knowledge about this disease that is now at an epidemic level worldwide. Segment 4, we want to talk about some diabetes patients lose their lower limbs because their skin changes. How many of you are aware of that? Yes, your skin changes. Researchers from the University of Bristol, which is located in the UK, United Kingdom, have discovered why patients with diabetes develop a skin condition, which leads to amputation of their lower limbs. It is caused by an alteration in the skin tissue before a leg ulcer develops. It's not uncommon for people with diabetes type 2 to develop an ulcer in the lower limb, which does not heal. Eventually, the condition becomes such that the only effective treatment is to amputate below the knee. The best way to prevent an ulcer complication is to lower the patient's blood pressure, glucose, and cholesterol levels. The problem is the condition is often undetected at its early stages. Recognizing the signs is so crucial in helping you beat this disease. So effective treatment can sometimes arrive too late. About 15% of people with diabetes have a foot ulcer when will need an amputation. People most at risk of ulcers that lead to limb loss are those with type 2 diabetes or adult onset type 2 diabetes. Now, in this study that they did at this university, scientists examined 14 patients with diabetes who had an amputation below their knee. Here's what they found. Skin tissue from their two legs were compared. The legs, or the leg with the amputation below the knee, had healthy skin. They found that the leg with the amputation below the knee had problems with connecting or connective tissue that supports the skin. The skin had changed basically. Tissue was being renewed at a much faster rate, leading to abnormal collagen. The skin being weaker was breaking down faster, and a condition which allows ulcers to form more easily was discovered. And this condition that we just talked about, that environment allows for that to happen. Remember back in history class when they talked about the great diabetes epidemic of 1965? Well, of course you don't. There was no such thing ever. We never talked about anything like that. Well, currently, there have been many epidemics throughout history, extremely destructive, killing millions of people, toppling empires, dilapidating entire landscapes. But diabetes as a mass killer, seriously, diabetes as a mass killer in today's society with all the technology that we have, well, that's something new. That's something that we all have to deal with right now. But that is exactly where we are today. Epidemiologists, health professionals, all are warning that the great diabetes epidemic is upon us right now. The result of the combination of obesity and type 2 diabetes is likely to be the biggest pandemic in American history, the biggest episode outbreak epidemic wise in our entire history, human history. Perhaps the word epidemic sounds overwhelmingly dramatic to some of your ears. And you're probably thinking, man, diabetes is an epidemic. No way, man. This guy's full of it. Well, the Centers for Disease Control explains it this way. The term epidemic simply refers to an increase in the number of cases of a disease above what is considered normal, normally expected in a population in a given area. That is what they consider it. Now, when you think of that, the way this is spreading and has spread over several countries and continents, usually affecting a large number of people. Therefore, the CDC refers quite specifically to diabetes as an epidemic that currently affects almost 30 million Americans, which is forecasted to rise to nearly 55 million over the next decade. Regarding the spread to other countries, the World Health Organization estimates that the number of people with diabetes grew by nearly 300% from 1980 to 2014 to 422 million people worldwide. Those are devastating numbers. That number is also predicted to rise to 642 million people living with diabetes worldwide by 2040. Although taking into account both the number of people it will affect and what it will cost to treat, one researcher has gone as far to predict that type 2 diabetes is on track to be a much, much bigger and much more deadly than the Black Death. For those of you history buffs out there, you might know about that. Quick little break, and we're going to come back and conclude the show.
Sean Harrison.
So tonight we have definitely covered some ground and some very, well, there's no other way to say it, some very important information and some very devastating information on a disease that is basically something out of Hollywood, man. And so many of you out there deal with this. I read so many of the posts in the social media groups that I'm in and the patients that I even work with. I know so many of you suffer from this. And again, like it said, and like I have said, the best thing we can do is spread knowledge about this disease and try to prevent others from being overtaken by it, try and help others from going down this path. So, in conclusion, tonight, let's cover just a little bit more information so that we all are clear on what we need to do with protecting ourselves and our loved ones from such a devastating disease. Driven by raising obesity, diabetes is probably among the most common of all chronic diseases. Just over 29 million people in the US are diabetic. That's more than 1 in 10. And the affected population is growing fast with nearly 2 million new diagnoses each year. 2 million each year. That's crazy. Now, the consequences of uncontrolled blood sugar can be severe, very severe. High blood sugar levels can definitely lead to bad things: heart disease, stroke, blindness, kidney failure, and amputation of your toes, your feet, your legs. Specifically, diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure, lower limb amputation, and adult onset blindness. More than 20% of all healthcare spending is for people who are diagnosed with diabetes. It is commonly ranked as the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. You heard that earlier in the show. We need to touch on that again. 7th leading cause of death. One forecasting model shows that diabetes will remain a major health crisis in America. Despite all of our medical advances, despite all the technology that we have, despite all the prevention efforts, unfortunately, with more diabetes, we are also facing increased numbers of amputations and deaths from diabetes and its complications. What can we do to fight this? What can we do to prevent this? Well, my friends, knowledge, education, spread the word. I'm not tooting my own horn with this because, trust me, I am no professional guy at doing a talk show, but share this show. Share this show right here with those that need to hear it, with those that need to understand the importance and the devastating effects of diabetes and what it can do to a life, to a family. That's what's going to help. That's what's going to help bring this thing to a screeching halt and control it. It's part of the reason why I do this show. I'm nationwide. I can get to a very big audience, but this show is nothing without you, my viewers, my listeners. I need you to spread the word about Amp Life Talk Radio and these topics that we talk about. I know it's not the best topic tonight to be talking about, but it's an important topic that we need to talk about. And it's very crucial that we spread the word about this topic. If you can hear my voice and you are a victim of diabetes, we need to fight it. You need to let other people know what it does. That's why it is so important. As I wrap up the show, diabetes and obesity are firmly embedded into our human behavior. We have to understand that. I think that's another crucial element in being able to fight this. It's something that it is embedded into our human behavior. The drive to eat is so powerful. We know that there is a very close link between diabetes and type 2, or obesity and type 2 diabetes. Obesity is frequently described as the most important cause of diabetes. With obesity, the rates are skyrocketing in the US. It is clear that when we talk about diabetes, to a large extent, we are talking about obesity and vice versa. Today, obesity and diabetes are embedded in the complex physical and social environment that we live in, that shapes and directs our actions as people, as humans. Unfortunately, the human environment we are currently living in has been described as an obese or genetic type of environment. What does that mean? This is simply the urbanization and industrialization environment where you'd see it. Everything we do is just so, hey man, I need this, I need that right there. Everything's so quick. We YouTube, we Amazon, we get everything just so immediately and so quick. We see this in everything that we do when we look around us. Look at how the world is changing, how you can get anything at the snap of a finger. You could be driving down the road, boop, pull in, grab anything you want to eat. Convenience stores, Taco Bell, 7-Eleven, restaurants. Look at how many Starbucks there are on just a 1 mile radius block. So when you look at that and when you look around us, the place with little call for strenuous work and easy access to so much rich food, especially for our young kids in our new environment, energy dense foods are nearly always readily available for them. And our appetites are always manipulated by the food industry. I was talking to my lady about this when we were in Vegas, and to prove the point, I ordered a pasta dish, and the next day we were able to split that pasta dish, and we both could eat it. Now, keep in mind, the first day I ate it, I took a whole portion back to the room, but the next day I had everybody at the table in her little group for paparazzi. I was at a jewelry convention, yeah, and they all saw that, and they all shared this dish. So I hope that I rubbed off on them a little bit, and that they got to see a little bit of how this society will overfeed us. It'll kill us. And with the amounts of food that they're going to give us. So it is unfortunate. The evidence basically shows that we are in a society to where the environment that we live in, obese genetic environment, is just simply the act of eating just way too much, and it accumulates a lot of body fat, and it compromises our health. So we need to pay attention to our environment. We need to pay attention to the signs that our body is trying to give us. We need to catch things early. We need to develop a good routine to make sure we're taking care of our feet and we're taking care of our health. I can't thank you enough, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. I've been worried about my sound the whole night. I feel like I'm echoing. So if I am echoing, I apologize to you. Playing with this keyboard here or my mixer, I need to get the right terms. Sometimes you go on the show and just sound does not sound right. So I think tonight is one of those nights where hopefully I'm not too echoey for you. And hopefully you guys got the message that I'm trying to put out to you without being distracted by my voice. I would like to thank you all for listening to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. Be sure to add us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Facebook, and Instagram just by punching in Amp Life Talk Radio. You can also listen to the show live if you dare to on Spreaker.com. You just download the app there and you can actually listen to the show as I do it live. So you can hear me make mistakes in real time. Please like and share the show and the video tonight. I've encouraged everybody to do that. In fact, some of you are going to be getting some coffee mugs mailed out to you. We finally got our little coffee mug boxes. So I'm going to be trying to get some of those packaged up and shipped out to those of you that I know have shared the show on a frequent basis when I come in here and I do the show. Keep in mind, you have to share the show live. So there are a few of you that are going to be getting some coffee mugs to you. And I think some of you have kind of seen that we are trying to put together some stuff up on the Facebook page, t-shirts, coffee mugs, different things like that you can get if you really appreciate the show and like our show. Trust me, I'm not getting rich off anything. I actually go broke trying to do stuff like that for you guys. But I appreciate all you guys. And if you want a t-shirt, and if you get a t-shirt or a mug, please do me a favor, take a picture with it so I can put you on the Facebook page and Instagram page. I appreciate each and every one of you. I am so thankful to be able to do what I do. There are some very interesting things coming up. We've got some really good shows. Mason Hall, I think that's his name. He's a strong man. He's an amputee. He's going to be coming up, and their organizations that they do there, I'm in contact with them and a couple other people who we're going to be having on the show. Dave, my one-legged Spartan, will be coming up with his show. I think at the end of this month, he has his segment coming up where he talks to you about all the different things that you can do to keep yourself fit, stay in shape, and learn how to be more active as an amputee. So Dave's segment of the show, the third Wednesday of every month, that will be Dave, the one-legged Spartan. Dave, if you're listening, I'm looking forward to having you on the show, man. He's one of our co-hosts that will be helping me do the show. We have a couple doctors that will actually be coming on, and we're going to be talking about some wound care. So I have some of the people that I work with on a daily basis in the professional industry, healthcare industry. They're going to be coming on, and you're going to hopefully find that this show is a good resource to come to and get some information, because I see so many topics that come up in the groups that I'm on. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio. I can't thank you enough. Remember to share and like the show. You can look us up on iHeart, iTunes, and soon to be, hopefully, Spotify. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight and sticking around for another episode of Amp Life Talk Radio.
You are listening to Sean Harrison on Amp Life Talk Radio, a place for amputees and those dealing with limb loss. The views expressed on the show by the host, co-hosts, and guests are their own. Always seek medical advice from a licensed medical professional.